So the triangle formula. What is the triangle formula? How did I come about this? I coined this frame, the triangle formula. This is originally my formula of how to shoot a wedding. It's well, people probably shoot like they used to shoot like this before me, but I just coined the phrase, the triangle formula. That's I started calling it that. And yeah, so I'm the original. You hear any other filmmaker out there calling it the triangle formula, just know Francis is the one that actually came up with this, because I've never heard anybody say it. So if you look back to like 3 years ago, I think that's where I like kind of did the video called the triangle formula video. So since you guys yeah, so since I have to put it in this course because it's such a crucial formula to what I use with weddings. So what is a triangle formula? So I'm going to draw the ceremony right here to show you guys. So basically, this is the triangle formula, guys. So here we go. So this right here is the triangle formula, guys. So it's a triangle, but it's kind of like upside down. So the corners is where the cameras are. So the bride usually stands on the left of the officiant. So in this case, the bride will be right here. Okay, let's use this. Okay, you know what? We'll do this. This is the bride. This is the groom. This is the officiant, right? So, bride, bow with the skirt, groom with pants. You know, just, anyways, I'm sorry if, equal rights, stuff like that, but this is just an example, okay? So here you go. This is camera B. This is camera G. So G for groom, B for bride, okay? And then this is camera, what did I name that camera that was here? B and G, yes. Camera B and G. Okay, so this is the camera right here. Bow, bow, bow. Forgive my illustrations. I have illustrations that I took time on for real, that are more accurate, that you guys can go and download underneath here. Underneath this section, you guys can find those good illustrations, not these doodles I'm making here, okay? So camera B is strictly for the groom. Camera G is strictly for the bride, and camera B and G is usually where I do sometimes a full body shot of the bride and groom, sometimes a mid shot of the bride and groom, kind of like waist up of the bride and groom. Sometimes I do a wide angle shot showing the whole crowd, but sometimes I alternate between these shots I just told you guys I do. 5 bridesmaid, so you gotta account for them, okay? I mean, I'm just drawing them like standing this way, but most of the times they stand like this. So actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, because most of the times these people, they stand like this, so they can kind of see the action, right? That's why you need to be careful where you place these two cameras here, because this camera might be blocked by the groomsmen. I've had that happen at weddings, where sometimes I'm on this side, and then by the time I come this side, this camera, the bride camera, is being blocked by the groomsmen. So I usually like putting these cameras right here. So we're gonna move those cameras just for your sake. Actually, the one that I have on the downloads is accurate to what I'm trying to say right now. Is I put this cameras usually right here close to where the chairs are. So I usually put this camera right here so it can focus on the bride, and this camera right here on the corner so it can focus on the groom, but leave room to pass right here in case the photographer wants to pass and get some of those shots that you're getting as well, right? So leave room for the photographer, guys. So that way you guys are friends throughout the whole wedding, because I mean, you guys are both, being paid to be there. So respect the photographer, and I'm sure he or she will respect you, because you guys are both there to make the bride and groom, to give them the best wedding possible, right? So there we go. We kind of like redid the thing. So goes to camera B, camera G. Okay, so because the cameras are diagonal, because you're not going to face them straight. So they're going to be like diagonal facing the bride and the other one facing the groom. So that's how it's going to be. So, okay, so that's the triangle formula, guys. That's it. That's the triangle formula. So the triangle formula is just set your camera here, set your camera there, set your camera here in a triangle kind of form. And then this is dedicate this camera only to the bride and dedicate this camera only to the groom, and this camera dedicated only to both the bride and groom. And sometimes you can zoom out and capture the whole wedding party, bridesmaids and groomsmen, and sometimes just go tight on the bride and groom. But the reason why these cameras are dedicated cameras is so when you zoom in on the bride, you can capture her emotions. You can capture her facial expressions, reactions when the bride is reading the vows or when he's putting on the ring, those special moments during the ceremony. You can capture them if that camera is only dedicated to the bride. But if you make it a wide angle to where the officiant and everybody else, you see them, sometimes like when only the officiant is talking, sometimes you can kind of have it to where it's the bride and the officiant and the groom in there, but mainly dedicate that camera only to the bride, and also on the other side mainly dedicate that camera only to the groom. And make sure that if you have a second shooter, make sure you lock in the manual settings on focus. Make sure you use manual focusing so that way it doesn't veer off and focus on the best man back there, or focus on the officiant while he's talking, just those kind of little unexpected things. So make sure like you're doing that. But these cameras need to be dedicated to these two people because it's their day and you want to capture their reactions and yeah, their expressions when everything is going on, okay? Because they're the main event, so that's why I dedicate these two cameras to them. Okay, as far as B-roll and stuff like that, I'm gonna touch on B-roll, how to capture B-roll for ceremonies on the a couple sessions down there. But yeah, so this is how you shoot a wedding ceremony. You just position your cameras here, there, and yeah. So now let me show you how you get to the triangle formula and how you move out of the triangle formula, right? So here we go. Here's how you do it, guys. Here's how you film a wedding from beginning, not a wedding, a ceremony from beginning to end. So I'm gonna delete. I'm gonna erase these, right? I'm going to erase and start from scratch, right? So here's how you do it, guys. So how you do it is here, right? So let's say, all right, let me do it. Let me switch up the erasers. My son just ate my eraser on this, so I'll use this. Anyways, so let's say these people haven't got in yet, right? So here's how you start. So let's assume the bride, okay, let's just do this. Look, this is the door, okay? It's like this, and the doors are right here. Bow, bow. These are the doors, okay? So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna place a camera right here. This is gonna be the B camera, which is the bride camera. You're gonna place it right here, and right on the side where the guy is gonna be standing, where the groom is gonna be standing. So that's where you're gonna start. You're gonna place this camera right here, and then the groom's camera will remain here. We'll start here and end there. Okay. The groom camera doesn't move at all unless you want to rearrange or unexpected events and stuff like that, scenarios. But the groom camera stays here, and before and after the ceremony, it stays here. Throughout the whole ceremony, let's just say. Throughout the ceremony, the groom's camera doesn't move, okay? It just moves if you want to adjust it and stuff like that. But groom's camera just doesn't move, it stays there, right? So the bride's camera is the one that does a lot of moving, as well as this camera that will be here does some type of moving, right? So that's the bride camera right here. So so what you're gonna do is, so where is this camera, the BNG, where is it gonna be at the start of the ceremony? So the BNG camera will be right here. And the only reason why it's going to be right here is so this camera, because if you place it on this side, you're going to be able to see this camera, which you don't want to do that. And if you place it on this side as well, this camera is going to be able to see that, which you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is you want to place it kind of far to where maybe like that distance is good right there. But yeah, you want to place it there, so that way you can catch the people as they're going in. So you catch the backs of the people, okay? So it's gonna be like kind of a wide angle. I usually do a wide angle shot of this to capture the people, so that way I can capture like full shot while they go and line up. So in this case, let's just start. So the officiant will probably walk in first. Let's just assume, right? So this B and G will start here. B and G camera will start here, facing the crowd, capturing people. Okay. It's not going to be looking this way. It's going to be looking that way. Okay, guys. The only times when I have this camera facing this side is if it's a long entrance. It's a long way to get here, because sometimes some venues at golf clubs and stuff like that, like the bride walks like a long distance. So you don't want to just have your camera here, because she'll be probably here and then go like that and then come. So you want to have this to where you can capture that. Or sometimes I even take this camera and come here and capture as she walks, and then I run around here and then capture as she comes into the aisle, okay? But I'm covered with this because this is going to capture the back, okay? So that's the case. Yeah, and sometimes I run around and stuff like that. But the ideal scenario is the bride just walks in straight, and you get to keep those cameras there. But in an unexpected scenario, you have to kind of like run around and move around and blah blah blah. But I have behind the scenes where I'll show you sometimes where like I moved around and ran around, and I also kind of I'll put also where it was kind of a perfect wedding. There's no such thing as a perfect wedding, but it was kind of a perfect entrance and stuff like that. So I'll put that as well. When the officiant goes down the aisle and gets in position, let's just assume he's walking in first, okay? So the officiant walks in, and then the groom now walks in. Well, every wedding is different. Let's just assume for our wedding, for our example, this is a scenario, okay? So the officiant walks in and he stands there, and then the groom walks in. And so you got to make sure. So what I do with the bride camera is, at first I'm going to be shooting the people coming in, right? Well, like filming them, right? So what I do is I start with a wide angle so I can see their whole body. And then as they come in, I kind of like slowly zoom in, so that way I can capture their faces. I'll probably have examples of this to show you. I'll have examples of this to show you. And there's some weddings where I zoom in and then I zoom out as they come close. So I'll also show you that as well. But yeah, so the groom walks in. So you want to capture his whole like full body shot, and then kind of go like close in, tight up. So the groom will walk in and he'll stand right here. Actually, no. the groom will stand right here. So when the groom stands here, what you do is you now go here to this camera, okay? You now go here to this camera and you adjust accordingly, because I always assume where he's going to stand, and most of the time I ask where he's going to stand. But if I just go to this camera just to make sure this camera is capturing, the groom on a perfect spot, and make sure my focus is in check. At this time, I put it on autofocus, because there'll be a lot of movement from the groom, and my autofocus is perfect because I use the Canon. But yeah, it's perfect. So so let's go. So the groom gets there, and you make sure this camera is good to capture the groom and it's on focus and everything else is good. And you go back here, and then now everybody else that's walking in, maybe the bride and groom, maybe the bridesmaids are like walking in together, right? So in this scenario, we'll assume the groomsmen and bridesmaids are walking in together. So they're walking together. The guy goes here, the girl goes here. Okay, so let's just say they've all come up, right? Or the bridesmaids have all come up. So now time for the bride, right? So what do I do? Do I move? Do I stay there? Sometimes I move, sometimes I don't. But in this case, just stay here and just capture the full body shot as the bride walks in, and then go close up and capture her facial reactions. But don't go too close up just on her. Make sure it's a double shot, two shot, where you capture her and her dad or whoever's walking her down, because sometimes the dad is sometimes more emotional than the bride. So take a two shot of like chest up, so you capture the facial expressions, emotions as they walk in. So you move this camera as they walk in, you move it following the bride. And this camera will be capturing the bride's dress and the back shots and stuff. So bow, so the bride goes here now. So now you move camera B from here. Camera B has done its job. So from here, you bring it here. Okay, so you get out of the way of the people. Okay. So now camera B goes here to capture only the bride. So, and then now after you've done that, you've kind of reset the recording thing, because these are recording. You go here on camera B and G, and you move this camera from here to probably here. Okay. You don't want to put it dead center, because the photographer, you have to consider that they're also going to want to take shots. So just put it right here. But make sure you can capture both the bride and groom. And in some cases, I put it like in the aisles somewhere if there's like a gap, or if this is too far from here, because there's some weddings where like the last chair bench is way far from the action. So you move it in one of the aisles and stuff where nobody's sitting. And yeah, you capture that. So that's what I do. But ideally, I mean, you want to put it here, but I don't know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But you have to be considerate of the photographer, okay? So B and G. And some photographers are considerate of us as well, the filmmakers, because sometimes they go around and they just take quick shots if they're in front of the camera and they move. But some stubborn ones stay there and think they're a big shot. Anyway, so during the ceremony, all ceremonies are different. Not all of them, but most of them are different. If you're filming in a church, like a Roman Catholic church, there's a lot of things that go on as far as like the mass, and the readings are longer. So depending on whatever culture you're capturing or tradition or whatever, ceremonies are going to be different. But the triangle formula kind of will help you in that sense. But usually, most of the times, this camera is sometimes like, let's say if sometimes somebody starts singing and they're standing over here, so you can just use this camera to capture them. You don't have to keep it on the bride the whole time. but it's dedicated for the bride. But you can also kind of like, if somebody's here singing or somebody's here reading a scripture or something, move this camera to capture them. If somebody's here reading or saying something or a poem or something, use the groom's camera on this side to capture them, right? So that's what you do. That's why these cameras also come in handy for those kind of situations. Okay, guys? Yeah. So, I mean, they are dedicated for the bride and groom, but in cases where somebody is here or there doing something, you have to capture them, okay? Yeah, and if let's say they're doing like a sand ceremony for the family and they go behind here, use either the bride or the groom's camera to go around and capture that action and then bring the camera back, okay? Don't just leave this here and be like, oh yeah, Francis told me I'm just going to leave that there because it's a triangle formula, blah, blah, blah. You can move those cameras, move them accordingly because you want to capture the action and everything that's going on. So be able to move these two cameras. This is the one that mostly stays stationary throughout the whole thing, but these two, move them around according to whatever is happening, okay, guys? So that's the case here. So for the rings and stuff like that, when they're putting on rings, I personally, it's my preference as a pro. I don't like bringing this camera right here and capturing, because it's just, dude, they have other people in here as well, family, the guests. It's a wedding, is something intimate. You don't want to make it like, oh, it's a movie, yeah, cameras everywhere. Nah, you want to be discreet sometimes. That's why they advise wedding filmmakers or vendors wear black, so that way you are just a fly in the room, okay? Like, be seen and not heard. Sometimes don't even be seen, okay? That's why you wear black. But yeah, so that's why I mostly want to just stay in those corners, so that way while the ceremony is going on, I'm just not like the only last man standing, go here, go there. And sometimes, like, if the ceremony is going on, if I have to go from here to here and the officiant is kind of reading and stuff like that, everybody's seated, I usually go around and come here. I don't just cut through like, oh yeah, bow, bow, I'm filming this thing, I'm getting paid, so all you guests, take this, take that. Nah, I don't do that. So I usually go around to adjust the cameras accordingly. So for this, so yeah, so for stuff like the sand, sometimes they pour the sand during the ceremony. Sometimes they drink wine and eat bread. So different things, different ceremony. But always know you can move this camera to capture that action. Or if they're close to this camera, you can move this camera to capture that action. Okay, guys? Yeah. And in some cases, all right, I'll say that later, but in the unexpected scenarios. But yeah, this is how you film it. And yeah, so after, when they're about to do the kiss and all that stuff, I usually don't use this camera. This stays wide to capture like a wide angle. I usually move this camera from here and I go around. Once again, I go around when I sense that, okay, they're going to do the whole by the power vested in me, from the state of your choosing right here. So I bring the bride's camera now from here. I move the bride's camera from here to here. Okay. BNG stays there. I can move BNG, but I'll keep it there for this example. Okay, there we go. So BNG, the bride camera moves to here, and then I get a close up, usually like to the chest up of the bride and groom. Sometimes I go like this, depending, I kind of I read the wedding guests and see what I can do and cannot do. So sometimes I go like that. Sometimes mostly I go around, so that way I'm not in the way of the people, right? So I go here with the B camera, and then wait as the officiant pronounces them bride and groom, husband and wife. And as soon as they kiss, they start walking down the aisle, right? So I back up with them, okay? I back up with them waist up as they walk down the aisle. And that's why sometimes I recommend putting this camera on a gimbal. So most of the times, I put the Bryce camera on a gimbal. So that way when they're backing out, you can get smooth shots of that action. But if you have an extra camera that's already on a gimbal, you can just leave that there, bring that camera here and do that on the gimbal, because the gimbal shots, steady shots, just look beautiful when the bride and groom are leaving the altar or whatever the case is, right? So they'll get married and then they'll either walk this way or they'll go this way. So I'll kind of like pan out and kind of like finish off the shot to make a good transition. But that's basically how I film a wedding. I mean, that's it. Anything more? That's it. Just 3 cameras can do it. If you have extra cameras, that's when you put extra cameras everywhere. But 3 cameras is all you need to film a wedding ceremony, guys. So yeah, that's that.